The movie takes place in the early 1990s in a working-class city, a place marked by poverty, unemployment, and the crack epidemic. The story follows two brothers, Dickie, a former local idol who in the 1970s gained notoriety by fighting against Ray Leonard, but who now, trapped in addiction, wanders the neighborhood convinced that he can still return to the ring. Micky, his younger half-brother, a disciplined and reserved young man who dreams of making his way in boxing, although his career is stifled by the manipulation of his domineering mother Alice, who acts as his manager, and by the constant distractions and absences of Dickie, who claims to be his trainer. The story begins with an almost documentary tone, showing Dickie followed by cameras that portray him as a celebrated figure in the neighborhood while he boasts about a supposed comeback. At the same time, we are introduced to Micky training seriously in the gym, although we soon discover that he is trapped in a family environment that pushes him into poorly organized and uneven fights. On the other hand, we see Dickie proudly recalling his old fight while smoking crack with his fellow addicts. Suddenly, he remembers that he was supposed to train his brother and becomes agitated. He desperately looks for his vehicle, but due to his condition, he cannot remember where he parked it. So he ends up running to the gym, arriving just in time for the last minutes of training, where Micky, after an intense practice, knocks down his sparring partner with a direct hook to the liver. Later, the family heads to a tavern for some drinks, and there Micky is captivated when he sees the new waitress Charlene for the first time. His stepfather encourages him to approach her. Shy but determined, he strikes up a conversation with her and tells her that he works as a street paver, although his true dream is to become a boxing champion, mentioning that he has had some victories and defeats. Soon he will face a very important fight. While they talk, a drunk rudely interrupts, belittles Micky, and treats the waitress as if she were a prostitute, which provokes Micky to punish him, forcing him to apologize, and just at that moment, his brother shows up to finish the humiliation, making it clear that it was not the first time that man had disrespected them. After throwing him out of the tavern, Charlene asks him about his next opponent, and he confesses that it is a former world champion, an opportunity he got thanks to his brother's fame and connections. Then, in a more personal tone, he explains some details about boxing and ends up inviting her out, at which point Charlene asks if he is married, to which he replies that he is single, although he admits to having a daughter named Casey, whom he visits twice a week. The next morning, our protagonist visits his daughter to make her a promise. When he wins his next fight, he will earn a lot of money and come for her. He will move into a much bigger apartment so he can spend more time with her. Laura asks her daughter to go back to her room. She does not want to give her false hopes. While staying in a hotel in New Jersey, the fight promoter informs them that there were complications. Micky's original opponent will not be able to make it to the fight, since his doctor refused to authorize him due to a severe cold. Even so, he assures them that they should not worry because he already has a last-minute replacement, a former convict from Philadelphia who weighs 74 kilos. Upon hearing his words, Micky is displeased and recalls that his last fights were very difficult. He thought this one would be different, since they had trained specifically to face Mamby, not a former convict who weighs 10 kilos more than him. The promoter tries to reassure him, assuring that there is no risk, that the new rival has been out of training for 2 months, that he was even defeated by a beginner in one of his fights, and that, besides, this is the only available option because if they refuse to fight, there will be no money. When the promoter leaves, Micky insists that he will not accept. The weight difference is far too great. It would be practically a lightweight against a heavyweight, something completely unfair. However, both his brother and his mother pressure him and end up convincing him, reminding him that it would not be the first time he has fought someone heavier than him. On the expected day, both fighters step into the ring with a very noticeable weight difference. Micky allows himself to be intimidated by his rival's size, noting that he is bigger than he thought. He believed he would be in bad shape, but he has the body of a boxer. His brother reassures him and asks him to focus on his movements. He must take advantage of his opponent's mistakes to gain an edge. After the second round begins, the ex-convict unleashes a series of powerful punches that knock Micky down with great ease, leaving him staggering and unable to react. Even though he manages to get up before the countdown, the punishment is evident and the difference in strength becomes increasingly obvious. The round ends with Micky barely defending himself, while his family tries to cheer him on from the corner. At the start of the third round, the ex-convict regains full control of the fight, punishing him with fast, heavy combinations that leave him no room to respond. Micky takes one blow after another, cornered against the ropes, trying to endure while the audience watches the clear inequality in weight and power. After suffering a humiliating defeat, a promoter approaches Micky and tells him that he likes his fighting style, that he has seen some of his previous performances and can recognize talent in his movements, although it is evident that he is not getting the right matches, and that if he continues down that path, he will end up destroying his chances. He offers to get him a real opportunity, to pay him to train with his boys in his gym in Las Vegas, where he can grow without wasting his potential. Our protagonist, unsure, asks if he can also take his brother, but the promoter apologizes and firmly replies that no, because he believes Dicky only represents an obstacle to his career. While returning to the hotel, Micky remains thoughtful about the proposal until his family asks what he was talking about with the promoter. When he tells them about the offer, Dicky interrupts him to say that he should not trust strangers. His mother insists that probably that man only wants to use him like toilet paper, reminding him that in Las Vegas he will not have the support or protection of his family. Back in the city, his mother tells him not to worry, they still earn some money just by participating. She will get him another fight so he can try again. Micky is honest and tells her that he is tired. He thinks he should dedicate himself to something else. Hearing his words, his brother approaches and says that he is simply exhausted. He needs to rest to recover. They will get him another fight, a much bigger one. The next morning, the waitress visits him by surprise, upset that he has not called her. Upon seeing his bruises, she offers to change his bandages. She asks about the fight, and Micky tells her that everything was a disaster. They switched his opponent at the last minute. His replacement weighed 10 kilos more than him. He should not have accepted, but he did it for the money. His family thought he was going to win. Then the two of them get ready for their planned date. Micky takes her to a wealthy city to avoid being seen by his people. He feels embarrassed about his fight. He takes her to the movies and falls asleep halfway through, something that makes Charlene upset, since she had already noticed how distracted he was since they went out. Micky apologizes and tells her that he is going through a hard time. He promised his people that he would win the fight. He told his daughter he would use the money to rent an apartment. He feels useless. Charlene asks him if he thinks his family really wants to see him succeed in his career, to which Micky asks her not to talk about his family. After that, they exchange looks and end up kissing. 3 weeks later, after losing contact with his family, Micky decides to return home with his new girlfriend. When introducing her to his sisters, they welcome her with disdain, throwing hurtful comments, since in the neighborhood there are rumors that she is a girl who goes out with many men. Even Alice, Micky's mother, treats her harshly, starting an argument in which both exchange aggressive words until Micky steps in to ask for calm. Amid the tension, Alice tells him that she managed to get him a new opportunity, a fight scheduled in 6 weeks against a scrawny opponent. They were offered $20,000. Although Micky appreciates the news, he explains that he needs to think about it, because from now on he wants to make decisions that truly ensure him a better future. His response enrages his mother, who accuses him of being ungrateful and reminds him of the effort it took her to get the fight thanks to her contacts. George, his stepfather, interrupts and demands that she let her son speak, reminding her that she always interrupts him and never lets him express himself. Faced with Micky's lack of firmness, it is his girlfriend who speaks up and defends his stance. She claims that they are preventing him from advancing as a boxer, that Dicky arrives late to training because he spends time smoking crack with his friends, and that they are wasting his talent. She also reveals that Micky plans to accept the offer made to him in New Jersey. Dicky tries to stop him. He tells him that he understands the situation, that in the past he was offered the same thing and he regrets not having taken it, but still insists that Micky should reject it. He promises that he will find a way to get money so he can keep training, assuring him that he already has a plan. His plan begins by asking his girlfriend's family for money with the promise of doubling it, but they refuse, distrusting him and believing it is a scam. So he turns to a second strategy, using Karen as bait, making her pretend to be a prostitute. When the clients accept and go with her to a secluded place, Dicky and his accomplices arrive in a car with a siren, pretending to be police officers to rob them. However, in the middle of the robbery, the Real police appear. Alerted by another victim, Dicky flees desperately, running through alleys trying to escape, but finally, he is intercepted while trying to take refuge in a restaurant. Just a few meters away, his brother is having dinner with his family, and when he finds out what is happening, he runs to intervene, but the officers beat him with their batons, subdue him, and when they recognize him as a professional boxer, one of them decides to neutralize him severely, breaking his dominant arm with blows. Unable to help his brother, Dicky screams, desperately asking them to leave him alone. While the crowd watches helplessly, the police load them into different patrol cars and disperse the people, closing the scene with an atmosphere of violence and humiliation. When they are taken to court, Micky is released on provisional freedom without having to pay bail, while his brother faces a much more complicated situation, being charged with 3 counts of assault and battery on a police officer, 2 counts of resisting arrest, 2 counts of robbery, and 2 counts of impersonating an officer. The judge sets bail at $25,000, and shortly after, we see Dicky being transferred to prison, where he is received as a kind of hero. The inmates respect him and cheer, reminding him that he was the man who defeated the most recognized boxer in the world. That night, the documentary they had been filming about Dicky's life finally airs. The warden places a television in one of the rooms and invites all prisoners to gather and watch it. With a confident smile, Dicky expects to see how they portray his return to boxing, believing he will be remembered as a rising champion. However, to the surprise of his entire family, the program does not focus on his sports career, but on his crack addiction, his constant problems with the law, and how his poor decisions have ruined not only his future, but also Micky's opportunities. The inmates who initially received him as a hero now watch in silence, some laughing secretly, others disappointed. Dicky tries to hide it, but he cannot conceal the frustration on his face. Meanwhile, his mother and sisters watch the program from home with indignation, convinced that television has betrayed them, while Micky observes silently, understanding that all of this is the harsh truth he himself refuses to accept. The next morning, Micky decides to get up early with a new determination, to restart his boxing career from scratch. For several days, he focuses on training tirelessly, leaving aside any distractions that get in his way, while his stepfather accompanies and supports him every step of the way. With his help, they manage to contact a businessman and legal fight promoter known as Lonano. During the meeting, the promoter asks seriously about the condition of his arm, since he learned what happened with the police, and finds it regrettable that a professional athlete goes through something like that. Micky reassures him, saying he is ready to return to the ring, that he can handle the pressure and is prepared for a real battle. Lonano replies that he has already made some calls and has secured a local-level fight, something small, but enough to regain confidence and start building a new path. From now on, he'll be his official manager. He emphasizes that discipline will be key, and he assigns Sargent as his new trainer, someone strict who will not tolerate excuses or delays. But Lonano is also clear if he wants to succeed in his career, he must focus 100%, without the influence of his mother or his brother, as they only hinder his career. The stepfather intervenes, saying he understands the situation and promises that he himself will keep the family in check, so that Micky finally has the opportunity he deserves. Upon hearing the news, Alice becomes furious with her husband and throws all the dishes at him. According to her words, he made a serious mistake convincing their son to accept the deal. Guys like Lonano are thieves. They only look out for their own benefit. One of her daughters points out that maybe Micky made a good decision and that his brother is in jail, taking her words as an offense. Alice reminds him that he owes her $200. For the disrespect, she will add another $200. Convinced that Charlene is brainwashing him, Alice decides to go to her house accompanied by her daughters, but when they arrive, they are surprised to see Micky there. Alice confronts him angrily, reproaching him for replacing her as manager, reminding him that his brother did everything possible to make him a world champion, and now, out of nowhere, he turns his back on them. Charlene intervenes and speaks on behalf of Micky, saying that her son is already a man and can make his own decisions without anyone interfering in his life. Micky's sisters insult her vulgarly, to which Charlene responds with the same aggressiveness. The situation gets out of control, and they all end up fighting on the floor. Micky, tired of the same conflicts, separates them firmly and demands that they leave, making it clear that he will no longer tolerate such scenes in his life. On the day of his exhibition fight, Micky climbs into the ring determined to show that he still has a future. From the start, he dominates with precision and appears far superior to his opponent. After controlling all rounds, In the fourth, he lands a flurry of direct punches to the jaw that leave his opponent unresponsive, achieving victory by technical knockout and earning public recognition. In the following scenes, we see him face several boxers, whom he defeats overwhelmingly, consolidating his comeback with a winning streak. Some time later, Micky visits his brother in jail and tells him about his latest fights, also informing him that he now has a new manager and a winning streak that has led him to secure an important opportunity, a fight sponsored by HBO. His brother, however, warns that it is very likely HBO has bet against him, since they are not interested in his career, only using him as a stepping stone to boost his opponent. Micky admits that it seems strange to him, since now everyone seems interested in him, when in the past they convinced him to accept disadvantageous fights like the one against the ex-convict. Dicky listens seriously and assures him that he knows Alfonso Sanchez, his next opponent, a boxer with a brutal punch who has 15 consecutive victories, and he also warns him that Lonano is not trustworthy, describing him as a financial thief, a gangster who is only using him to fill his pockets. After several days of intense and non-stop training, the night of the big fight arrives. The fighters climb into the ring after the official presentation, under the lights and the cheers of the audience. From the moment the bell rings for the first round, Alfonso shows dominance, punishing Micky with a flurry of body punches that leave him breathless and unable to react. The difference in strength is evident. Meanwhile, in his neighborhood, his family tunes into the live broadcast, following the fight with anguish. Alice, desperate, maintains a call with Dicky from prison to tell him what is happening. Micky cannot land a single punch. It seems impossible for him to win. The fight progresses, and at the end of the fifth round, his trainer confronts him harshly, saying he notices him distracted, that he has done nothing in 5 rounds, and that if he wants to win, he only has one option left. He must knock out his opponent. With that pressure in mind, Micky returns to the ring determined, although the next 2 rounds are a torment, receiving constant punishment until he is finally knocked down by a brutal hook that sends him to the canvas. The referee starts the count, but Micky, with wounded pride and intact determination, rises unsteadily and faces his opponent again. This time he stays firm, blocks several attacks, and in a lapse of his opponent, finds the opening he has been waiting for, lands a precise punch to the liver that collapses his opponent. The entire stadium falls silent as the referee begins the count. Sanchez writhes in pain, unable to catch his breath. Against all odds, Micky is declared the winner. His family erupts in joy, and even Dicky, from jail, cannot hide the emotion of seeing his brother become the night's champion. As they celebrate the victory with a couple of beers, his stepfather tells him that the commentators were very critical during the fight, saying it should have been suspended due to the difference in level, but Micky silenced them with his performance. At that moment, his manager approaches with good news, explaining that if Sanchez had won, he could have gone directly for the world title, but having been defeated, Micky now has the opportunity to fight for the title. Mike joins the celebration and sincerely congratulates him, assuring that since he saw his first fight, he knew he had enormous talent, that his strategy was impressive, and in his 30 years of experience, he had never witnessed a knockout like that. Sanchez was knocked down as if he had been shot. Micky smiles and comments that it was all thanks to a move his brother taught him, remembering that they were the first moves he learned in boxing and marked the start of his career. After serving his sentence, Dicky leaves prison and is taken by his mother directly to the gym, where he reunites with Micky. After greeting him, his stepfather introduces him to his brother's new manager, but Dicky, upset, barely looks at him and tells Micky to get ready, as he is prepared to resume training like before. He then heads to the lockers, and Micky follows to talk in private. Dicky confesses that he was tired of prison, although he admits it helped him overcome his substance addiction. He has been clean for several months and wants to stay that way for the rest of his life. Micky is glad to hear his words, but takes the opportunity to tell him something important, reminding him that he had promised not to train with him again. Upon hearing this, Dicky explodes in rage and starts hitting the lockers in front of his son. He then talks to Alice and tells her what his brother said. She, outraged, explodes and shouts that Micky would never have defeated Sanchez without Dicky's help. The sergeant, tired of the argument, demands silence in the gym and reminds them that they must stay 100% focused. Amid the conflict, Micky acknowledges that his mother is right. He would not have defeated Sanchez without his brother, as he tried to execute the plan they had prepared, but it was not working, so he resorted to the moves Dicky had taught him from the beginning. However, he also makes it clear that he would not have achieved victory without the sergeant's support or the backing of his beloved, because they were the ones who helped him arrive prepared. Firmly, he states that he knows what he needs and wants Dicky to also be part of his team, because he needs everyone equally. Charlene, disappointed, warns him that he is making a serious mistake and reminds him that this was not the deal they had agreed upon, while the sergeant, furious, leaves the gym, saying that he did not like his words. With no other choice, Micky continues his training with his brother, but the tension between them is evident. At one point, Dicky starts hitting hard, releasing his anger and resentment in every movement, as if he wants to show Micky that he is still the true master. Tired of enduring the attacks, Micky responds with 2 precise punches to the liver followed by a punch to the face, leaving Dicky on the floor. Instantly, Alice runs to her son to help him, scolding Micky for hitting him hard. But Micky, angry at the situation, tells her that he is tired of her always defending him, of overlooking all the bad things he does and putting him above everyone else. Hearing for the first time what Micky keeps inside, Alice apologizes and assures him that she never imagined he felt that way. It was never her intention to hurt him or make him feel less. All she wanted was to protect him, although she admits she may not have done it in the best way. For a moment, Alice's face reflects guilt and vulnerability. Enraged by what happened with his brother, Dicky goes in search of his old drug-addicted friends, who greet him enthusiastically and try to convince him to try new substances. But this time Dicky stays firm and refuses the offer. Instead of falling into temptation, he goes to Charlene's house to talk to her in a friendly way, admitting that he knows she cannot stand him and the feeling is mutual. But he reminds her that Micky loves her and does not deserve to carry that burden. His brother does not deserve the spectacle they made in the gym. He is willing to do whatever is best for him, because thanks to his resilience, Micky has achieved a unique opportunity, something he could not have reached even at his best, and that is why he asks Charlene to make peace, at least for the sake of his brother. Some time later, the brothers are focused on training, sharing intense sessions also with the sergeant, refining every detail of the strategy. When the day of the weigh-in arrives, the welterweight champion looks at him indifferently and treats him like a rookie, saying he expected a higher-level opponent, which generates tension in the room and murmurs among the press present. When the long-awaited day finally arrives, the arena is packed, the cameras point to the ring, and the atmosphere feels tense, everyone eager to witness the fight that will define Micky's future. Both fighters enter the ring, and Micky tries to touch gloves with the champion, but he returns to his corner without reciprocating the gesture. The bell rings and Nairi advances firmly, launching a violent flurry of punches to impose respect from the start. Micky withstands the attack and responds with precise punches, measuring every movement, saving most of his energy to surprise his opponent at the least expected moment. From the corner, Dicky shouts instructions, trusting his brother's guidance. Our protagonist manages to land a couple of clean punches right in the last seconds of the round. At the start of the second round, he maintains the same strategy: block at all times, move and wait for the right moment. The commentators, incredulous, emphasize that he has no chance, claiming that in all rounds he has been clearly outclassed. The pressure increases, and in the fifth round, Micky tries to force an offensive, but is caught in the exchange and knocked down by a powerful blow. He rises unsteadily, and the bell saves him from being knocked out. Back in his corner, Charlene begs him to give up, warning that it may be too dangerous to continue. Dicky interrupts her harshly, telling her to be quiet, and goes to his brother, forcing him to jump in place to reactivate his legs. He looks at him firmly and speaks from the heart, telling him that unlike him, he is taking the right path, that he is fighting not only for the title but for everything he has overcome. With a firm tone, he encourages him to return to the ring and show what he is truly worth, reminding him that he has everything needed to win. The fifth round begins, and the champion corners him against the ropes, punishing him with combinations that shake his family, who watched the broadcast with anguish. Suddenly, at the least expected moment, Micky lands a precise punch and skillfully dodges the following attacks. Nairi tries to regain initiative by throwing a couple of punches to the face, but accumulated fatigue takes its toll. His hands no longer have the same power as at the start. Taking advantage of that weakness, Micky charges forward and pursues him with a series of attacks that surprise the audience, which erupts upon seeing the sudden shift in momentum. A left to the body followed by a direct right sends the champion to the canvas. Nairi quickly gets up, determined to continue the fight, but Micky keeps the pressure and knocks him down again with an unrelenting combination. Knowing the outcome is inevitable, the referee decides to intervene and stops the fight, announcing Micky as the winner by technical knockout. At home, his sisters scream with joy while Dicky runs to the ring to hug and lift his brother, proud to congratulate him for having won the world title, a dream they had been chasing since childhood. The film is inspired by the life of Micky, an American boxer whose career was marked by tough fights and a complicated relationship with his brother, Dicky, who suffered from addictions. Micky started as a young laborer with natural boxing talent, faced tough losses and family challenges, but with perseverance, discipline, and support from his family and trainers, he overcame them and achieved the local welterweight championship title. Along the way, Micky married Charlene and started a family, consolidating his personal life, while Dicky, after overcoming his addiction problems, stayed close to his brother and now trains boxers in the family gym, helping to develop new generations and regaining stability in his life.